Okay, so for your ankle taping lab, the first thing you're going to want to do is prep the ankle for a tape job. That might include shaving the leg, which is nice, especially if you have an athlete that's going to be repetitively taped every day to just help with the adherence of the tape to the skin. Also makes it more comfortable so you don't rip their hair off. But in lab, you guys also have an adhesive spray that you can spray on the foot to help with the tape adhering to the skin. And then after you spray that on, you're going to want to put your heel and lace pads on in the areas of most friction and tension. So we have this spot here at the top of the foot where we have the TA muscle and your extensors coming through, and then on the back at the Achilles tendon spot and the calcaneus. Next, you're going to want to apply your pre-wrap. This is applied backwards, so different from what you would normally think. Intuitively, we pick things up and we roll them out like this. But for this, in order to keep the appropriate tension, you're going to want to roll it on backwards. The person's foot's going to need to be in 90 degrees as best they can. If the tape job's taking a while and their foot's getting pretty tired, you can actually use your body to help keep them in that position. And there's no set way to apply pre-wrap. People have different techniques or ways they like to do it. The most important thing is to roll it on nice and smooth. Try to eliminate any kinds of wrinkles that might roll up, because those will cause blisters. So you just want to make sure that you cover the ankle and the upper leg, or lower leg actually, the best you can. I like to rip mine at the top so that when I apply my anchors, it goes right there over top. So to apply your anchors, you're going to want to come up to the top here and apply them at about a 45-degree angle. That helps it lay flat as you go back and around the calf muscle here. Depending on the size of the ankle, you can put 2 to 3 of these anchors on here. Since he has a pretty big ankle, I'm going to go ahead and do 3, so I have a nice base of support for the rest of my tape job. And then you're going to want to come down to the bottom of the foot, find your the base of the 5th metatarsal here, and that's where you're going to want to apply your bottom anchor. I typically like to do this with 2 strips, just so it's not one continuous strip, because it can tend to cut into this area right here and cause some discomfort. So I've learned that if you do 2, then it's not as tight. You can control the tension that happens in this area. So then the next thing you're going to want to do is apply your stirrups. Typically, because we usually sprain our ankles in an inversion mechanism, our pre-wrap rolled up a little bit, so I'm just going to rip that spot. We want to try and either put the foot into complete neutral, or sometimes if it's bad enough, into almost an everted position. But for this lab, you just need to keep it in neutral. So that means we're going to apply these strips from medial to lateral. So you want to anchor this down and really pull that up nice and good and adhere it to your anchors at the top here. For this next one, you want to start to fan them out. So this one I've put a little bit more in front of the one before it. Come around down behind the ankle, or underneath the heel there, and secure it at the top. You're going to want to put at least 3. Again, depending on the size of the ankle, you may need to put more than that. 4 or 5, just depending. But you want to get a nice wide stirrup so that you're really supporting this foot in a dorsiflex position. I like to anchor these down, usually at the top, just to hold them in place while I do the rest of the tape job. So now we're going to do the heel locks. So how I like to start my heel locks, here, right above the lateral malleolus, come down, around, underneath the heel of the foot, and up. And with heel locks, you're always going to end where you started. okay? So if you think of throwing a lanyard over someone's heel, that's exactly what this looks like. You have the two top parts of the lanyard here and coming around down the bottom of the ankle. Then you're going to want to do a medial heel lock as well. Start in the same position, angling a 45 down by the medial malleolus. Come around the bottom of the heel and back up to your starting point. Depending on the severity of the ankle sprain, you may want to do a couple of those to help hold that heel into position. That's what's really going to lock our mortise joint into place. But for this taping lab, you only need to do one on each side, a lateral and a medial heel lock. For the figure eights, I like to start mine here, on the side of the foot, using the base of the fifth as my landmark. Put it at a slight angle, but it's almost straight up and down when you think of the plane of the foot. And so I do that because for me personally, that helps me get the angles down nicely so that I don't have wrinkles in my tape. Your lab instructors may show you different starting points. That's totally fine, just as long as you get the main concept down, which is coming around the bottom of the foot here, back up to where you started. That's our first part of our 8. Above the lateral malleolus here, back behind the ankle, over the medial malleolus, back down to our starting point. So you see how we made this nice figure 8. To show one more time, start here, come down by the base of the fifth, up and around to our starting point, back behind the ankle, up over the medial malleolus, and back down. And you smooth that into place. So there is your figure 8. For this class, you only need to do one figure 8. So 2 is just to show you how they look. Now that we've done these parts of our ankle tape job, we're ready to close it up. So we've done our big parts of the tape job that's going to hold our foot into a dorsiflex position in a neutral spot with our heel secured to try and keep that mortise joint stable. So in order to close it up, I'm going to start at the top, again about a 45-degree angle. And as you work your way down, this angle is going to slightly change. It's going to go 45 gradually to 0 and then in the other direction. And this is just following the contours of the ankle itself. This makes the tape job look really nice. It keeps everything locked in. Doesn't have any tape ends flying around to get ripped off. It also keeps everything from being wrinkled. Once you get down here, you start your C-strips. To the back of the heel. Make that all smoothed out. And then once I get to the top here of the foot, again, because I don't like to wrap all the way around the foot continuously, I'll put down a strip on top, and then I'll even come and do bottom strips here, which I like to do because it adds a little extra arch support. And I'll close those off as well. So there you have it. There's your finished tape job. If you would like to remove the tape job, you usually want to grab some scissors that have a blunted end or your tape shark. You come on the medial side of the foot, as there's more room back here behind the medial malleolus, or right underneath it. Slide this here along the foot. Try not to pinch their skin. Get it started, and then you can start to slide it in. These are very dull scissors. And then once you get below the malleolus, you can turn these scissors up and start cutting up along the lower leg. And then remove your tape job. Once you have your tape removed, you can kind of get rid of some of this pre-wrap and really look at your tape job and how you did, and see if there's any gaps or holes or places that you might have missed. This is a pretty solid job. The only spaces we really have here are at the back of the heel. But everything else is nicely covered, which means we got a nice solid tape job. The one thing you guys really have to do is practice ripping tape. Ripping it seems easy, but it's actually quite the skill. You want to keep a good amount of tension whenever you're applying the tape so that it's not too loose, it's not too tight, but just right enough. And when you rip this tape, you want to pull so that you have tension and then rip the roll towards you. You might have to just practice that over and over again, just ripping pieces of tape, trying to rip them smaller and smaller until you get the hang of it. When you are taping the foot, when you do end a piece of tape, you want to lay your 3 fingers down here, grab it with your forefinger and your thumb, rip it like this towards you so that you can then lay the tape down nicely with your other fingers. And don't be discouraged, it takes a lot of practice, so really focus on your techniques and practicing those little skills, and your tape jobs will get better and better. But have fun in lab.